Oh, somebody in the chat. So yeah, tonight I'm going to be showing you guys how to make two different Thanksgiving side recipes. So the first one is going to be a gluten-free mac and cheese with broccoli. I'm going to make it gluten-free, but I'm also going to make it vegan by using non-dairy milk and non-dairy my substitution, but obviously you can use, regular milk and cheese as you like. So I'm going to send that one right now. It's gluten-free. So I just want to open up my window because it's getting a little warm in here. So that I just sent that one through. And then I'm also going to show you baked Brussels sprouts with cranberries and almonds. So we're doing a little bit of like a healthier side recipe bunch today. So for the sake of time, I did go ahead and pre-make some of this. I already cooked my pasta. So like I had mentioned, it's gluten-free. So this is actually lentil pasta, and I got it from Trader Joe's. You can use, if you are gluten-free, you can use Banza pasta. Hang on one sec. Okay, so while I was making the recipes for the webinar, I was also making mahi-mahi burgers in the toaster oven to go with my sides that I'm making, and they just set off my smoke alarm. Open up the window and the door, so should be okay. But yeah, we're gonna make these recipes a little bit healthier. That who I am and where we're from. So I am from OnPoint Nutrition. We are a Philadelphia-based company, and we do virtual nutrition counseling. So it's one-on-one counseling. And yeah, we're all working from home now. Like I said, I'm located in Delaware, but we originated in all over the world, really. I'm surprised we don't really have anybody in Europe or Canada because they usually join us. But you'll also be able to view the recording later too. So if you want to go back and watch it. So I did just send the rest through. I also wanted to highlight that we do have a new section in the member portal for the recipes. They are holiday favorites. So when you go to your recipe tab at the top, scroll down to explore, you'll see holiday favorites. So these are going to be included there. Sorry, I just have a couple of people that we want to let into the meeting. Okay, so again, just want to make sure that we mute people. So that there's no background noise. If you just came in, I'm actually just going to mute everybody just so that there's no background noise. But ask any questions and ask any, of course, unmute yourself. So like I said, I had already prepared some of the ingredients. I already cooked the pasta just because that would take a little bit of time. And I was using frozen broccoli for the mac and cheese. So I just went ahead and sauteed it with some garlic and salt and pepper, just so that I could put it into the dish, not first. So there's also the option to do that. So I would like to start with the broccoli mac and cheese, just because this one will take the most time. So I know that this is like mac and cheese is like a big comfort food and really popular around Thanksgiving. So essentially, step one and part of step two. So step one was to preheat the oven. I already did that. And then it was and a pinch of salt and add the pasta per the instructions. So I already did that. The other step now, step 2, is to take milk. So in this recipe, there is 1.5 cups of milk. So I already have my milk measured out here. You can use any type of milk that you want in this recipe. So I'm going to add this to in a medium-sized pot. So I'm actually using the pot that I cooked the macaroni in earlier so that I have less cleanup. And then with this, we're also going to add the cornstarch. It's going to make it a little bit thicker. So this recipe calls for, let's see how much cornstarch, 1 tablespoon. So I already had that measured out as well. So I want to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to add the cornstarch in just so that it gets a little bit thicker. So I'm just going to let that heat up a little bit. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to everybody about is our most wonderful time of the year. Maybe not right now because the world is a little bit different, but if we can kind of like make some are the most wonderful time of the year. They're also notoriously calorie filled. And I think Thanksgiving is kind of known as one of those holidays that ends like an eating holiday. So it's a lot about the food, right? So one of the things, small, healthy holiday changes can make a big difference. So holiday sides are just as, if not more important than the main dish, which usually ends up being a protein. Turkey, I think, is a popular one. If anybody's having anything different as like your main protein option, I would love to have you send that through the chat and let me know what you're having for Thanksgiving. And again, so like the main course at the holiday, generally the sides, right? So that's the mac and cheese, broccoli and cheese casserole. We know that cheese, while yes, it's delicious, is also a source of saturated fat. All your dairy is. So we know that there's always going to be fat with anything that has cheese in it. Then obviously heavier on the carbohydrates usually with the sides, stuffing, mashed potatoes. So that's like where your calories add up. It's not usually the turkey, or somebody sent in that they were having tilapia. That's not usually what's going to kind of like make you, overindulge in your calories for the day. So the sides are something that we can kind of like control. So generally our favorite sides like casseroles, pasta dishes, like I said, mac and cheese, potatoes, they contain a lot of fat, causing them to be more dense with calories. So one of the things that we kind of like want on is at least just getting a variety of food groups with your sides. So if you can include something from the vegetable food group, the starch, the fat. So even in baked macaroni, you can have broccoli in it, like what we're going to do. The broccoli and cheese casserole, I mean, that does have broccoli in it. One thing you might want to edit with that in it, but that's a good example of kind of like adding greens in where there's, a starch. Also too, like having a salad or something on the side. And we're also going to do a Brussels sprout dish, which I don't know that that's really that popular, but also something that you can contribute that's a vegetable too. So my sauce is, or my milk is thickening. So I just want to see, we want to add in the cornstarch and then like bring it to a simmer. So like I said, I already measured it out. There's a tablespoon here. So we want to whisk that in. So I know tilapia All right, so we're just gonna let that simmer. Then the next step is to mix in it calls for Colby Jack cheese, low-fat Colby Jack cheese. Someone commented that they might have duck. Awesome. That's definitely different. So usually, like on your plate, you'll probably have a portion of protein, and then when you talk about a balance, I mentioned adding vegetables to your meal as a side, or of your side, so you'll get that too. And then you have cheese. You might have a fruit if you decide to have dessert, and there's a fruit pie or something like that. So a variety of food groups is the recommendation. So the recipe calls for 6 ounces of low-fat Colby Jack cheese. Like I said, I'm making it dairy-free. So I got dairy-free cheese. This is actually going to be like my first time making mac and cheese with it. So you guys can, too bad that you guys can't taste the final product, but this will be a guinea pig recipe. So I'm just whisking the rest of the cornstarch here while it simmers. And then I'm going to mix in my cheese. So per the instructions, it's stir in the cheese and also Parmesan cheese. I went ahead and followed the same serving size for the Colby Jack cheese. I just substituted it for the dairy-free. But for the this is something that a lot of vegans or dairy-free people will use. It's actually dehydrated yeast, and it has a cheesy flavor. So it tastes cheesy without being cheese. So we just want to add these in here to get them melty. Now, I don't think that the ratio is going to be exactly the same for the nutritional yeast, because this actually looks like quite a bit. So I'm actually just going to use my best judgment on this one or out later. So I'm just letting this get all melty and simmer. Like I said, I already did cut up my broccoli and cook it since it was frozen for 10 ounces of broccoli chopped if you were using raw broccoli. And then the other ingredient is the gluten-free panko. Somebody said that they're having bacon for their main dish. Let's get a little bit more info on that. What's the bacon? How is it prepped? What's that look like? Curious. All right, so if you're I'm just going to go ahead and mute you. We are, to catch you up, I am making the cheese sauce for the pasta with broccoli. So this is actually really thickening up and looking like a really good cheese sauce. So like I had mentioned, I'm using nutritional yeast instead of Parmesan. I just want to kind of like eyeball, and you know, this isn't called how much I want to use here. So I did measure out 2 ounces, but it's not going to be the same since it's not actually dairy. Also too, I did saute my broccoli with salt, pepper, and garlic, just because I like a lot of flavor. It doesn't say to do that in the instructions, but if you like a lot of flavor too, that might be helpful. So this is like super thick and creamy, just using my whisk here so everybody can see. So I do already have a casserole dish, and I just sprayed it with a little bit of Pam so that it doesn't get stuck. And instruction is to add the macaroni to the pot, which I already did, and then pour in the cheese mixture over top and add the broccoli and stir everything together and pour it in the casserole dish. So that's what I'm going to do. So this came together super quickly. Everyone can see? Wow. It looks good, smells good. So I'm gonna give this a good stir before I add the in. And again, I'm making it gluten-free just to go along with the instructions. Also too, this gluten-free pasta, it's also going to provide you with like half a protein portion as well as a starch. So this is a little bit more, you know, it just includes more than one food group too. So the only ingredient was lentils. So this is actually like a good version of a gluten-free pasta. Sometimes you get gluten-free products that are marketed as gluten-free, and this is actually a good one. And it wasn't very expensive, Trader Joe's. And now we're just gonna mix in the broccoli. So if everybody wants to comment your favorite Thanksgiving side, so we can kind of like see what the most popular ones are or what everybody's looking forward to having. So I'm just mixing this up really good. And then I'm just gonna add this to my casserole dish. And then the only thing that's left to do is add the breadcrumbs, which is gonna come after we let this cook for a little bit. Make sure everyone can still see me. Okay, here we go. It looks great. I'm almost tempted to eat it just like this. But the next step is to put it into the dish. Then we want to mix the breadcrumbs with olive oil in a small bowl. And then we're going to sprinkle it on top. So this calls for 3/4 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs. Again, I got these from Trader Joe's. They actually are gluten-free as well. And then mix with a tablespoon of olive oil. So I just got to grab that. I didn't want to. So everybody's going to see my spice cabinet over here. What's everybody's favorite Thanksgiving side? Don't be shy. Let's use a spoon here. All right, so I just added the olive oil, just mixing this up. Stuffing. I think I'm gonna go with stuffing too. Cornbread stuff, who said that? Michael. I made cornbread stuffing. I like to make cornbread stuffing every year. This year, I made it different, and I made a pumpkin cornbread and then use that in the stuffing. So it's like a little bit sweet, really good. Stuffing, green bean casserole. Meredith commented green bean casserole. We actually have a healthier version of a green bean casserole on the member portal as well. So just want to sprinkle, it said sprinkle, just gonna kind of toss this onto the top. So this again is the breadcrumbs that are mixed with a little bit of olive oil. So this is just gonna make it really nice and crunchy on top. Just making sure this is all even. Then it's gonna go in the oven for 30, just 30 to 25 minutes, but let's start with 25, backwards. I'm just gonna set a timer. Then I'll show you guys the progress of what that looks like if we finish up before it's completed. So I just like to make a little bowl of all my dirty dishes. So stuffing, mashed potatoes. I wanted to go back to the casserole. That is something that we, like I said, we kind of have like a little bit of a healthier version on the member portal. And it uses milk and then like chopped mushrooms. So I just pulled it up now. Instead of using cream of mushroom soup, which is notoriously, if you want to check that out, I can also send the link in the chat too. So also too, the next recipe I wanted to show you was the baked Brussels. So in what we would want to do is preheat the oven, which is already done. So like I said, I already did a couple of the steps. Sprouts, lemon juice, salt, pepper, olive oil. I also added garlic to everything. So I did go ahead and already chop Brussels sprouts and added in the spices and the lemon as well. Now I will say I did omit the oil in this part. So if you want to even make it less of a fat serving, you can omit and you can use broth. If you like, oil with your vegetables and you think that that's how people enjoy it, go ahead and keep it. This really counts as like 2 fat servings per serving. I omitted it and I just poured a little bit of veggie broth over it so that the spices would stick to the Brussels sprouts. And a free food, it doesn't count calories or macronutrients to count as, an on-point portion. Add them to a sheet pan. I'm going to use my Corningware dish just because it'll be easier for me to mix in the almonds and the cranberries. These are great too. So I did already spray that just so that nothing sticks. And then I'm going to pour these in. They're nice and coated. Show you what that looks like. So then what you want to do is bake them for 10 minutes. So I just have to do a little rearranging here. Okay, so then after those are done baking for 10 minutes, what we're going to do is sprinkle the almonds on top. So we're using a 1/4 cup of almonds. So I got these from Trader Joe's. I already have them measured out in my 1/4 cup. They're slivered almonds. I don't have the packaging anymore, but I wanted to show you what they look like. But also 2 dried cranberries. So we're going to use a 1/4 cup on these as well. These aren't going to get baked. We're just going to sprinkle on at the end when they come out. So one thing I wanted to note about this is, like, again, I got these from Trader Joe's, but they don't have any sugar added to them. That's the problem with dried fruit a lot, is that it ends up having added sugar to it in addition to the fruit itself, which contains natural sugar. So these in the ingredients is just cranberries. So anytime that you're adding dried fruit to something, try to get something that's just the fruit as the only ingredient. Okay, so somebody said that they had to leave. Green bean casserole, I'll send that through. I just wanted to kind of like circle back to about like healthy sides and like having a healthy holiday. So we talked about getting a variety of food groups in with your sides, vegetables, starches, fat, a side salad, or adding veggies to your starches. But then also too, one thing that I've been talking to my clients a lot about this week is pick and choose your sides as well. So make the conscious effort to eat the foods that you like instead of something you feel like you need to have because it's there. So you can say no. And especially now, if you're just staying home with your family, you have to make something just because it's traditionally a Thanksgiving food if it's not something that you really enjoy. Because then you kind of like fill up on foods that you're not excited about, and you could end up kind of like overeating. So instead, pick something you like. If you're not overly excited, skip it or say no. So survey the table, filling your plate, choose your favorite foods, and skip your least favorite. Also, too, think about, like if you really want, for an example, if you're really wanting mashed potatoes, or it seems like everybody in this group really likes stuffing, then maybe you don't need to have a roll if it doesn't look appetizing, unless it's like a homemade, really delicious bread that's fresh and warm. Then maybe think about, maybe skip the corn just because it's there. Corn we're going to count as a starch. So another vegetable that seems more appetizing to you that isn't going to be a starch, kind of like pick and choose your options is what we recommend. Also, too, balancing your plate. So if anybody's seen the My Plate diagram, it's the new My Pyramid, giving Americans guidelines for how to fill your plate. So it's kind of has a 25-25 rule. That means 50%, 20%, 25% makes up 100. 50% of going to make fruits and vegetables, mostly veggies in this case. Try to make most of your plate vegetables with the protein and starch of your choice. We know that the starches are also going to have fat. Just want to shut this window. If you're worried about loading up on too many calories over the holidays, healthifying sides helps a little bit too. Not only that, but if you fill your plate with mostly vegetables and then fill in with smaller portions of the starch, and then, keep a good serving there too, then you'll kind of like be in good shape. Another thing we talked about on the Healthy Holidays webinar was taking smaller portions of the dishes that you want too. So if you want mashed potatoes and you want stuffing and you want to have bread, then maybe you just kind of take servings of each of the things instead of larger servings. Another thing that we discussed too is making sure that you eat throughout the day. Don't go into your meal starving, because then you're probably going to overeat. So that's another thing that we've all been talking to our clients about this week, is the importance of saving food portions or starches, like saving your food portions for later and not calories. So if think about the things that you're not going to be having at dinner, which might be an overabundance of protein. So that means in the morning, you can more of like eggs for protein, or maybe Greek yogurt throughout the day to kind of like fill in a bit more filling with fiber. Berries and Greek yogurt would be a great thing to have in the morning, or maybe a protein shake if you make a smoothie, protein powder and fruit, chicken, and or protein of choice with a lot of vegetables, just so that you don't go into your meal hungry or hangry and then end up kind of like overeating because you haven't eaten all day. Does anybody have any comments or want to share like what they're going to be eating, or any questions that you have for navigating the dinner scene or desserts? I feel like certain things that you can kind of like eliminate from recipes to make them a little bit more healthy. For instance, I eliminated the oil from the Brussels sprouts. With the cream of mushroom soup, we're gonna, that recipe with, add in, like a lower fat milk option. Heavy cream cheese, we can change that to like a lower fat cheese option. With like flavor filled options and like these swaps and using spices, you won't even miss the heavy stuff, I don't think. Okay, so we have a question. What about appetizers and snacks? So, great question. Let me just check on the that we have and see what the status is. Ooh, the mac and cheese is starting to get a little brown, which is good. And then the Brussels sprouts we wanted to leave in for 10 minutes before we added in some cranberries, or we'll just wait a little bit longer. Oh, you know what? I can just add them in now. So I'm just going to sprinkle these sliced almonds on top. You just want to be careful that they don't burn. So I'm just going to mix these in a little bit so they're evenly distributed. Okay, so everybody can see that these are pretty simple ingredients, right? I did cook the pasta ahead of time, but that didn't take a long time. And then measuring out the ingredients was probably the hardest part. Then I just tossed it in for the cheese sauce, just tossed it in the pot, the stove, heated that up, stirred it all up, and poured it all together. So this actually came together really quickly. The question about appetizers and snacks. So one thing I recommend is plating your food. Don't stand and graze. I think you are more likely to overeat that, which is kind of the same concept as like when you're eating at home, plating your snacks so that you don't end up overeating or eating out of a bag or eating standing up. So plate your food, and then also like use the same rule maybe. If there are vegetables, let's try to fill up our plate with that so that we can feel like we're kind of like taking part in mingling if that's something that's happening, or if you want to snack on, food before the main course. Vegetables are always, the go-to, I would say. Then same thing, kind of like fill in and try to have something from each food group. I don't think that you should necessarily put anything off limits. I think that would get worse if you feel like you can't eat something or categorize it as bad. Most important thing is, being with your loved ones, whoever they are, and however many people are getting together. So really, and the reality of it is we just want to try to like enjoy our meal, enjoy our time. And, if you can plate your food, if you can stick vegetables, and then you fill in with maybe some of the appetizers might be like cheese and crackers. I don't think that you should necessarily like keep that be off limits for you. I think watch out for the portion size and kind of like move on. So I hope that's helpful. Another thing too, I just want to kind of like reference some of the other points that we were talking about on the last webinar, which was kind of like healthy holidays. It could just be helpful to, like we said, grab a plate your food with the proper portion of the food that you want to enjoy instead of mindlessly eating it. Because then you're more likely to overdo it if you just stand and talk and hover around food. Another thing too is like grab your plate and go sit down. You're less likely to get up and take seconds of an appetizer once you've already sat down, enjoyed it, and removed yourself from just standing over it, even if it's not something that I'm excited about again. So don't deprive yourself. You know your limit, lose the guilt. I think we talk about some of the things that we're looking forward to, stuffing. How many times a year do people really eat stuffing? So I think you should kind of like put it on your, enjoy it, and move on from it. Have fun. That's what the holidays are all about. If you do end up eating more than you planned, don't beat yourself up about it. Get back to, your normal routine as soon as you can. Forget perfection. You can't do it all and you will make mistakes, but that's okay. I think focus on food. I know a lot of people have a lot of anxiety surrounding food and like dieting or sticking to a plan or portion sizes around the holidays, and you just have a lot more room in your brain, and you can shift your focus to other things, and then like we said, kind of like get back on track. So don't deprive yourself. Another thing too, like if you're going to someone else's house, if you happen to be going to someone's house for Thanksgiving, bring your own healthy dish that you can share with the party. So maybe the vegetables is something that you can bring. That this person doesn't notoriously serve vegetables with their holiday meal. Bring your own healthy dish to share. That way, you're contributing to the meal, but then you also have something that you know is a good choice that you can gravitate toward. So sheet pan meals are a great way to roast a lot of veggies for a party or gathering. It's kind of like an elevated version of a veggie tray. Again, like elevated than bringing a veggie tray. A vegetable meal, or even like something that's a little bit of a healthier comfort food meal too, like this mac and cheese. We talked about grabbing a plate, don't deprive yourself, stay hydrated. If you do plan to drink alcohol, alternate between water and alcohol to maximize your hydration. You can also, we could probably have a whole other webinar on alcohol, which we will in January, but you can save on excess calories by choosing a calorie-free or sugar-free mixer to go with a hard liquor. So a seltzer is a good option, or alcohol like on the rocks or mixer. You kind of like drink it a little bit slower and enjoy it, and you won't end up drinking as much for our over 21 folks. We kind of like picking and choosing the things that you like, skipping things that you don't really want that much. Incorporating exercise, especially with the holidays this year. If you're not going to be leaving your house, you know, do it into running. You can do your own turkey trot, 30 minutes or 3 miles, whatever. Maybe it's a walk, a turkey walk. Start your day with a heart pumping workout, whatever it is that you like to do, a walk, a jog, you know, maybe you take a class or find something virtual to do. I think there's now. You're more likely to make healthy decisions throughout the day if you kind of like start your day off with a workout, and everybody feels good after that too. Also to enlist a friend. So again, depending on if you're surrounded by like-minded people, you're more likely to make better choices. So also bond with your family and friends over cooking. So I just gave you guys kind of like a laundry list of tips. I hope that helps with the appetizer and snack question. Does anybody have comments or questions while I check on the mac and cheese? It says that there's 8 minutes left. So the Brussels sprouts are starting to look, they're getting like a little toasty on the ends. I'm just going to stir these up. I wish you guys could smell and taste these things. Got about 8 minutes on the mac and cheese, but it does look pretty golden. Let me get the broccoli and cheese recipe, send that through. Is anybody cooking at home for Thanksgiving? Or has anybody bookmarked recipes or using any of the OnPoint recipes? So this green bean casserole recipe still does have the crispy fried onion toppings. I think that's essential to the recipe. We wouldn't cut that out. Fresh green beans, shallot, mushrooms, and with almond milk and flour to make it thick, kind of like cream of mushroom soup. But this is you know, a better way with better ingredients to get that same effect. Vegetable broth, fried onion topping, and spices. That's really all that's in it. I'm going to send this through the chat too. Also, the Healthy Holidays webinar, kind of like all the stuff that we just went through, is also available on the member portal. It's a recorded video if you want to watch that. Dessert? What's everybody's favorite dessert? Is anybody concerned about dessert or have any questions about that? So, okay, pecan pie. That's a great one. Are you making pecan pie or are you buying it? A friend is making it. Okay, that's great. And like, again, pecan pie, I mean, that's not something that people are generally like eating all the time. So I think you should have a piece and enjoy it and, you know, move on from there. Like I said, the only other step was to add the cranberries after the Brussels sprouts came out. So I'm just gonna let them cook for a little bit more. I just wanna give you guys an idea of what they look like. You can see they're starting to get a little brown on the edges. And then here's a pic of our mac and cheese starting to get nice. This looks so good. All right, so unfortunately, I get to enjoy these things. But if you want to make them yourself, please do. Please send me an email or a note and let me know how they came out. And again, I sent the green holiday section on the member portal. Please check those recipes out. And I hope this is helpful and that everybody has a healthy and happy Thanksgiving. And again, if you have any questions or follow-up comments, please feel free to send me an email. And hopefully we'll see you guys again. The next webinar that I'm doing is going to be in January, and it's going to be about healthy happy hours, or just kind of alcohol and drink. Thanks for coming. And I will see you guys again soon.